Hi everybody, it's Ginger again. We're going to do Judges chapter 2, or part of it anyway. I think we'll do the whole thing. Remember I read with you the first book of Judges, and we talked about how when Joshua died, the Israelites went into in the promised land, and they God anointed Judah to take some of the Canaanites out, and he took his brother tribe, Simeon, the leaders from that tribe, or the military group from that tribe, and they conquered a lot of lands. They even captured Jerusalem, but then the tribe of Benjamin did not really totally possess it. So some of the places were not conquered, and I think that's the last thing that we went over, is a lot of the tribes did not conquer the people in their land. So let's go ahead and start with chapter 2. I'm a little tired, so bear with me, and I'm just going to start reading it, and then we'll comment on it. Remember the judges, they're people that God sent to help. Like when the people would get away from God after Joshua's death, they would get in trouble, and God would turn them over to their enemies that they didn't drive out of the land. They would start worshiping false gods in that, which is worse than it even sounds. And they would have all kinds of problems. They would cry out to God, and he would send them a deliverer or a judge to help them out, military type leader. And yeah, but they'd fall right back in the same pattern again. Basically, they do this over and over again. Now, in chapter 2, we're going to go back in time a little bit because, in the first part of chapter 1, Joshua had died. And in this one, it's talking about when he's still alive. And let's just read it. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll get into this. Okay. I'm tired, so bear with me. Now the angel of the Lord came up from Gilgal to Bochim, Bochim, and he said, I brought you up out of Egypt and led you into the land which I have sworn to your fathers. And I said, I will never break my covenant with you. Remember, covenant is a promise. God doesn't break his promises, but we often do. And, he mentions when he brought them out of Egypt with Moses. And as for you, you shall make no covenant with the inhabitants of this land. You shall tear down their altars. But you have not obeyed me. What is this you have done? Therefore I also said, I will not drive them out before you, but they will become as thorns in your sides, and their gods will be a snare to you. When the angel of the Lord spoke these words to all the sons of Israel, the people lifted up their voices and wept. So they named that place Bochim, which means weepers, and there they sacrificed to the Lord. So the angel of the Lord is actually, when the Bible refers to the angel of the Lord, it's usually God himself in the form of an angel. We know that from what he says. So he's speaking to them as if he's God himself. Now remember, since the fall of Adam and Eve, at some point after the fall of Adam and Eve, God could no longer, in his holiness, men could no longer see him. At some point, when Adam and Eve first sinned, they could see God, and their children could see God for a time. But eventually, people could no longer see God. And at the time of Noah's flood, people had become so bad that only Noah and his family believed in God anymore. Probably in part because they couldn't see him. So God can't manifest himself in all his glory where we could see him. It would destroy us. So my assumption is that's why he comes in the form of an angel. Okay. He told them to get rid of these people in the land, but they didn't. Okay, now it's this little segment, verses 6 to 10, talks about Joshua dying, even though we mentioned that in the first chapter. We've gone back. When Joshua had dismissed the people, the sons of Israel went each to the inheritance to possess the land. Remember, each tribe is given a part of the land. The people served the Lord all the days of Joshua and all the days of the elders who survived Joshua, who had seen all the great work of the Lord which he had done for Israel. Then Joshua, the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died at the age of 110. And they buried him in the territory of his inheritance in Timnath, I can't say it. Timnathheres, Timnath-Heres, maybe, in the hill country of Ephraim, north of Mount Gaash, Gaash. All that generation also were gathered to their fathers, and there arose another generation after them who did not know the Lord, nor yet the work which he had done for Israel. So all these things that we read about, all the taking of the territory and stuff, you know, when that generation died out, Joshua and all his generation, the next generation didn't really know him. So I think the older people didn't properly prepare the younger to still serve God. Now, let me prepare you, because the next section is subtitled Israel Serves Baals. There were gods called Baals. There was a Baal, a main god, but there were other Baals like him. And they were like fertility gods, false gods, not real gods, fertility gods. And the name Baal means master or lord, and it can mean one of many idols, many false deities. But a lot of the time the word Baal, especially singular, it's referring to describe the god of fertility and rain, and it's associated with Beelzebub or Satan. Now, Ashtaroth or Asherah, that's a female version of Baal, and so they also worship these Ashtaroths. And this was really bad. I mean, they were all into sexual sin and stuff like that, but it got worse. They sacrificed their own children. They would burn them. So sacrificing them. And Baal, he would, the statues or things they would build to look like Baal, it was in the form of a bull. And they would literally burn the children to death, and so sacrificing to this idol. And you can watch videos on YouTube kind of explaining this. So if you want to know more about what they were doing in their false worship, I would encourage you to watch some of those videos. So anyway, let me read this part. Israel serves Baals. So when God wanted them to get rid of these people, he had good reasons for wanting them to get rid of these horrible people who worship these gods and do these horrible things, sacrifice their own children. Okay? Then the sons of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord and served the Baals. And they forsook the Lord, the God of their fathers, who had brought them out of the land of Egypt, and followed other gods from among the gods of the peoples who were around them, and bowed themselves down to them. Thus they provoked the Lord to anger. So God is really angry about this. As they serve these gods, I'm sure they intermarried some of these people. I think it might even mention that. That sound you hear, it's my cat and dog playing with like a rock on the floor, if you wonder what that is. I've got a kitty on my left, and I've got a little dog at my bottom of my feet. I got another dog up there. I got another dog outside. So anyway, so where am I at? Okay. Excuse me. Start with verse 13. So they forsook the Lord and served Baal and the Ashtaroth. The anger of the Lord burned against Israel, and he gave them into the hands of plunderers. You know, plunderers are people who take stuff from you. Plunderers who plundered them. And he sold them into the hands of their enemies around them so that they could no longer stand before their enemies. They kept enemies in the land, so God's like, if they're going to do this, if they're going to turn their back on me, serve these evil Baals and Ashtaroths, I'm just going to let their enemies have them. I'm going to let their enemies take what they've got. I'm just going to turn them over. Wherever they went, the hand of the Lord was against them for evil. So he used to be for them, and now if they're not going to be in a relationship with him, he's not going to be for them. Wherever they went, the hand of the Lord was against them for evil, as the Lord had spoken and as the Lord had sworn to them, so that they were severely distressed. Then the Lord raised up judges who delivered them from the hands of those who plundered them. Now, this is the whole theme of the book. The Lord is going to raise up judges who are helpers, military leaders, helpers, deliverers, kind of like types and shadows of Jesus Christ. They would come in and save the people, but then the people would turn right around. They would turn their back on God again, and the same thing would happen again. They'd cry out, God would have mercy, and God would give another judge, and so on. The judges are helpers. But and this is taking place between the time that they had military leadership, Moses and then Joshua. And then there was this time period before they had kings. And so the judges came before the kings of Israel. There haven't been kings yet. So this is that time in between the military leader Joshua died and the kings. Okay, let's start with verse 16 again, because it's the whole theme of the book. Then the Lord raised up judges who delivered them from the hands of those who plundered them. Yet they did not listen to their judges, for they played the harlot after other gods and bowed themselves down to them. They turned aside quickly from the way in which their fathers had walked in obeying the commandments of the Lord. They did not do as their fathers. So they're really tempted by these false gods and the things that gods do. I've heard people compare it to cultural worship. It might be easier for us to obey God when we're not pressured by the culture around us. And some people have compared the sacrificing of the children to abortion today, because that's a real cultural thing. We worship the culture, and the culture tells us to do these things. When the Lord raised up judges for them, the Lord was with the judge and delivered them from the hand of their enemies all the days of the judge. For the Lord was moved to pity by their groaning because of those who oppressed and afflicted them. But it came about when the judge died that they would turn back and act more corruptly than their fathers. They got even worse in following other gods to serve them and bow down to them. They did not abandon their practices or their stubborn ways. So the anger of the Lord burned against Israel, and he said, because this nation has transgressed my covenant is my promise, which I commanded their fathers, and has not listened to my voice, I will also no longer drive out before them any of the nations which Joshua left when he died, in order to test Israel by them, whether they will keep the way of their Lord to walk in it as their fathers did or not. So the Lord allowed those nations to remain, not driving them out quickly, and he did not give them into the hand of Joshua. So anyway, yeah. I'm trying to put it all together in my mind, the timeline here. Anyway, again, this is the whole theme of the book. No matter how bad they got, God would have pity on them when they'd cry out. And same with us, there's not a person in the world that needs to go to hell, because Jesus Christ has paid for all of our sins. All we have to do is embrace that truth and claim it as our own, and have a relationship with Jesus. He will pay for our sins, and we will not spend eternity in hell. But people are so stubborn. Anyway, but these people are intensely tempted by these false gods and by the Canaanite groups around them. So now God is going to soon send the first judge. In the next chapter, we'll get into it. And the first judge is Othniel, which I told you was Caleb's nephew, who married his daughter. And then the second judge, which is also going to be... there's three judges that are going to be discussed. Think of their names, say them over and over again. There's three judges that are going to come about in chapter 3. And those judges are... the first one, Othniel, the second one, Ehud, and the third one, Shamgar. And we don't know a lot about Shamgar, but we'll study what God shares with us. So anyway, next time we're going to do chapter 3. Is there anything else I want to share with you? Learn more about that Baal worship. It was pretty disgusting. And God is a jealous God. He doesn't want to share us with anyone. He wants a relationship with us. Remember, God didn't push out these people groups at that point. before, right after Joshua died, when God's hand was with Judah, all the groups that Judah pressed out, God was with them and gave them the victory. So, but when people are not seeking God, in this chapter, when people were not seeking God, God would not drive the people out. So, anyway, let's pick it up next time with chapter 3.